Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. Before I get into today's review, do want to mention we now have 4 tiers of membership over at our Patreon. So if you are interested in supporting the Gaming Gang, by all means, check out the link in the show notes. And of course, if you want to hang with the gang, we now have a Discord server, and you will find an invite link also in the show notes. So today I am going to be reviewing Cults of RuneQuest, the Gods of Fire and Sky from Chaosium Inc. This 148-page hardcover is written by Jeff Richard and Greg Stafford. It carries an MSRP of $39.99. It is available now. And of course, if you order from Chaosium Inc., you will receive the PDF absolutely free. And if you just want to score the PDF alone, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG for $19.99. Having said all that, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got the Gods of Fire and Sky. A couple of things to mention before we get stuck in. First of all, my friends over at Chaosium Inc. were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this review with you. It's important you know that. We're also not going to look at each and every page of the book. They do want to give you a really good feel for what you're going to find inside. First thing we're going to do is take a peek at the credits page. A lot of folks worked very hard to bring this to life. So let's give credit where credit is due. And I got to say, very happy to see Jeff Richard gets top billing on this volume. I say it all the time. Jeff Richard has done phenomenal work with RuneQuest, especially since the passing of Greg Stafford in 2018. And he has really kept the fires burning hot for this role-playing game. So kudos to Jeff Richard and his team. As far as the Cults of RuneQuest volumes go, this is actually the 6th volume in the series. It is the 4th volume that collects the pantheons, deities, cults, and so forth of the world of Glorantha. So this is going to feature the gods of fire and sky, which make up the Solar Pantheon. Now, these are tied into runes. If you're familiar with RuneQuest, you know that there are different types of magic. And of course, there's a reason why the game is called RuneQuest, and that is because rune magic is the most powerful magic that is out there. And the player characters are looking to become legendary heroes and maybe become rune priests or rune lords. So that is a big part of RuneQuest too. So as far as these different deities go, we're going to see the information presented just as we have in the prior 3 volumes, which has collected the pantheons and cults and such. So we're going to find out what is that god or goddess focused on. Then we're going to get some history about them both before and after time began, because if you're familiar with Glorantha, you know that there is a difference. We'll find out what are the tenets of that cult, as well as lay membership, some of the requirements to become an initiate, what are some of the bonuses of becoming an initiate. We're going to get a bunch of new magic, and these spells are tied into those particular cults as well. So we're going to find out, are we going to have any associated cults? Do we have any subservient cults? What is the organization of the cult? And we might even get some stat blocks for NPCs and creatures that are associated with that cult. Now, as far as the amount of page space devoted to each of these, it will depend on the popularity and the number of worshipers that each of these gods and goddesses happen to have. So as we kind of move a little further into the book, we start focusing on some like smaller gods and goddesses. But gotta say, all throughout, really, really interesting. And tons of useful information, tons of gameable information too, which is important to keep in mind. As far as the production quality of the book, excellent, as we have come to expect from Chaosium Inc. I've said this fairly recently. It appears that Chaosium Inc. is utilizing a heavier paper stock. So that's very cool. Love that. Artwork throughout is always phenomenal as far as the RuneQuest releases. Get a little bookmark there. And of course, this is going to hold up to a lot of repeated use at your game table. So very nicely done there too. So if you are not overly familiar with RuneQuest as a game master, keep in mind that player characters can belong to multiple cults from multiple pantheons, which provides for an exceptional amount of customization for the player characters, which is something that RuneQuest already has coming out the gate. As far as these Cults of RuneQuest volumes go, I also want to make sure that you're aware that you don't need to purchase every single one of these and incorporate every single deity, every single pantheon into your version of Glorantha. One of the things that scares gamers off from RuneQuest, both players and game masters, is just the sheer amount of lore that's already out there, the history, and all the content that's already been published over the decades for RuneQuest. Do not allow that to scare yourself and your players off from RuneQuest. So what I'm basically telling you, if you are new to the role-playing game, this is not a must-have. This is something that you can put on the back burner, put it on your radar, that once you kind of get a grasp of the world of Glorantha, you can decide if these are things that you want to add into your games at your game table. So please keep that in mind. Now, of course, having said that, there's just tons of fantastic content in the Gods of Fire and Sky, like we have seen with those other 3 volumes that collected the various different cults. There are 13 cults within. I forget if I mentioned that or not. There is a little bit of overlap as far as the various different deities, the gods and goddesses throughout the pantheons. But something important to keep in mind is they're not redundant. I really appreciate that. So one pantheon's god of light and another pantheon's sun god are not the same. So something to keep in mind. One pantheon's god of war or goddess of war is not the same as another pantheon's. So very, very cool. We're going to wrap up with the Encyclopedia of Gloranthan Celestiology. Hopefully I said that correctly, which is going to give us information about the solar system, the stars in the sky of Glorantha, the different planets and such. I thought this was really interesting and really different. I was not expecting this in a Cults of RuneQuest book. I thought that was very cool. We're going to wrap up with our index. So that is a peek inside Cults of RuneQuest, the Gods of Fire and Sky. Let's swing on over to the other camera so I can share some final thoughts as well as my review score. If you checked out any of my other reviews of the Cults of RuneQuest, you know I really, really do dig these books a ton. Once again, they are not required for your version of Glorantha, but if you're a game master who wants to incorporate a lot of the various different deities, pantheons, cults of Glorantha, these are fantastic books. Production quality, excellent as well. Gotta say, I did like The Lunar Way the best out of these. I gave that a 10 out of 10. I thought it was just phenomenal. This isn't far off. This is also a fantastic book. So on a scale of 0 to 10, I give Cults of RuneQuest, the Gods of Fire and Sky, a 9.5 out of 10. It is excellent, loaded with usable content, really cool information in here as well. Plus, plenty of new spells and options for your player characters. That's it for this time out. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. It will not only let you know when I share videos such as this review, it'll also inform you when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. Of course, if you'd like to support the Gaming Gang, please check out our link to our Patreon down in the show notes. And be sure to hang with the gang at our Discord server. You'll find an invite to that server also in the show notes. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thank you very much for watching. And until I see you next time, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.